here's your assignment. You're going to do the odds, so you can write that up on the top so you don't forget. And I highlighted the directions. It says 1 through 8 is write the decimal as a percent and a fraction, and 9 through 16 says write the fraction as a percent and a decimal. You're doing the odds 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, etc. Okay. The first thing that I want you to do on top of the paper is write FDP. I'm going to write it in 3 different colors. D, P. Okay, so the question is, and this will help you as far as changing decimal to percent and percent to decimal. The question is, since I have the percent color, how do we get from percent to a decimal? What do we do? There's a trick, and then there's the math way. Okay, so let's talk about the math way first. If we take a percent and divide it by 100, it will turn into a decimal. Okay, the trick is to just move the decimal in the percent to the left twice. That means we are dividing by 100. Okay? To change from decimal, hopefully I picked the right color, to percent. Can you see that up there? Yeah, you can. To change decimal to percent, what do we do math-wise? Sorry, I'm moving my screen up a little bit. There we go. Math-wise, mathematically, what do we do to change a decimal to percent? We don't divide by 100, we multiply by 100. But the trick is to just move the decimal in that percent to the right twice, which means we're multiplying by 100. Okay? In a fraction, if you write this, may help you. I want you to put, remember, all percents are based out of 100. It's a number of 100. Okay? So under the fraction part, I want you to put a line right there. Because fractions, that line means to divide. Okay? And if you even want to put the Norman and the donkey thing over there, Norman and the donkey, you can. Okay? Remember, don't put a donkey in your house. That's just nasty. Alright, so I'm not going to do this whole page for you. There are 23 questions, so that means you have, what, 12? I think you have to do 12 of them. Okay, remember, we're only doing the odds. Alright, so number 1, actually, you know what, I'll even help you with a more difficult one. So number 5, we have to write number 5 as a percent and a fraction. Notice that it doesn't say to simplify it, so we're not going to worry about simplifying it right now. Okay, we'll worry about that later on. Alright, so number 5, let's go there. So if you know your place values as far as decimals go, as you should, we have a decimal, we have tenths, then we have hundredths, then we have thousands. Don't forget, you can pause this anytime you want. Okay? So, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. The last digit in the decimal always tells us what its value is. Okay, so in number 5, decimal 378. Well, where's the last digit? It's in the thousandths. So the way that we say that is 378 thousandths. Okay, always the last digit. 378 thousandths. Can we write that as a fraction? Very, very simply. We basically just said the fraction, right? What did we just say? We said 378 thousandths. 378 thousandths. So there's your fraction right there. Easy enough. Okay, all you have to know is your place value. Can we simplify that? Yes, we can. They're both even, and if you use your divisibility rules, you find out that, let's see here, 378 is divisible by 2 and by 3, which means it's also divisible by 6, but you don't have to simplify that. Not this time. All right? So we also have to write it as a percent. Okay? So I'm going to rewrite this number. Actually, no, I'll just get a different color. So we have to write it as a percent. Well, what did we write up there? Fraction, decimal, percent. It's a decimal right now. The D up on top I wrote in blue, and then up above is my hint to help me understand what to do. So to go from decimal to percent, we just multiply by 100. Mathematically, we multiply by 100. But what is our trick? Remember, here's the decimal right there. If we move the decimal once to the right, that's multiplying by 10. But if we move it again, that's multiplying it by 100. So where did that decimal end up? Between the 7 and the 8. So that is 37.8. But because we multiplied it by 100, and all percents are based out of 100, that is your percent, 37.8%. Okay? Let's go to number 15. Let's do 15. All right. It's a fraction. I don't know what a fraction is. It's a fraction. We have to turn that into a decimal and to a percent. Or a percent. Yeah, decimal and a percent. So it's a fraction right now. We have two options here. Okay. Remember what that fraction, that line means between the numerator and the denominator. It means to divide. It means 11 divided by 25. But let's think about something. We could do that and it would work just fine. Remember, the 11, meaning Norman, would go into the house, just like that. And obviously that doesn't work, so we would have to add a decimal and a couple zeros. So let's go ahead and work that out. I'm going to do this kind of quickly because there's a faster way to do it. Okay, well, 25 doesn't go into 1. 25 doesn't go into 11. Bring your decimal up. But does 25 go into 110? Yes, it does. Let's say 110 is $1.10, just to help us out, and the 25 is quarters. Well, how many quarters fit into $1.10? 4 of them makes $1, right? So got 100. We subtract 1, 0, 0, and again 25 goes into 100 4 times. We just turned it into a decimal, right? There it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and write that down, but I'm also going to show you a different way. If we know that percent is out of 100, couldn't we just make our denominator 100 and we'll make an equivalent fraction? Yeah, and you could probably do this in your head. Well, 25 times what's 100? 25 times 4, right? So, remember back in kindergarten when you had to give a birthday invitation to everybody in your class? You had to be fair to everyone, right? So, if you do something to the denominator, you got to do it up top too, right? Do the same thing to the numerator. Pretend you're back in kindergarten and you got to give a birthday invitation to every kid, whether you know their name or not. So, 11 times 4 is 44. 44 hundredths. Same thing as what we came up with right here using the division. Okay, so there's our decimal. Now we have to write it as a percent. Okay, remember, as a percent is a number of 100. Some of you probably are like, all right, I already know the percent. And you should, because it's 44 out of 100. And what is a percent sign made out of? I'm going to use 3 different colors here to show you. A percent sign is made out of a 1, a 0, and a 0. See that? So, anytime your denominator is 100, the percent is just on top. Okay? So all we have to do is take our 44, and it's 44%. Also, what else can you do? Multiply it by 100. The shortcut is move that decimal over twice because we multiplied it by 100. Okay? I can tell you right now, number 9, 13, and I'm just skimming through real quick. I think number 9 and 13, you're probably going to have to do this. Okay, you may find a better way that I'm not thinking of quickly right now, but you're probably going to have to do that. Okay. All right, number 17 through 22, we're just comparing. Remember, we're only doing 17, 19, and 21. Okay, so we can estimate this. We can estimate all of these. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, I love thinking of things compared to half because it's such an easy number to think about. So look at number 17. 30%. More than half or less than half? It's less than half. Okay? 1/3. More than half or less than half? It's also less than half. So we can't easily compare that right now. Okay? But let's think about 1/3. Let's think about 1/3. Let's go ahead and do Norman and the donkey. So we're perfectly good here and get this correct. So Norman and the donkey. Remember, don't ever put the donkey in the house. Always Norman. So we got 1 divided by 3. Obviously it doesn't work, right? So we're going to add in a decimal. Okay? And then to divide, you put your decimal straight up there. Okay? Bring it straight up like you're lifting a weight up over your head or something. Alright, so 3 goes into 1 0 times. Okay? But 3 goes into 10, 3, 6, 9, 3 times. Right? And we got 3 times 3 is 9. And we're going to subtract. We have 1. We have to add another 0. Well, isn't that the same problem? 3 going into 10 again, so it's 3. Right? We could do it again if we want. It's going to be 9. It's going to be 1. We can add another 0. It's going to be 3 again. Okay? So let's look at that. Remember, let's make it into a percent so it's easily comparable. I'm going to use a different color so we can see it. 33, I'm going to write it down here. Actually, no, I'll write it, I'll write it right here. 0.333. How do we change that? Very easily to a percent. Multiply by 100. But what's the trick? That's multiplying by 10. That's multiplying by 100. So, what is it as a percent? It is 33.3%. Well, so which one's bigger? Obviously, the 33.3%. Okay? What's up? That's what happens when you do school videos at home on the weekend. You get interrupted by your kids. Alright, so obviously 33.3% is bigger. You know what, I'm not going to write it right there. I think that's what this space is for. 33.3% is greater. 19 and 21, just think about, is it bigger than half? Smaller than half? Super easy. 7/16. Bigger than half? Smaller than half? Well, it's smaller. 44%. Well, it's smaller than half. Okay? So, go Norman and the donkey on this guy. Alright? Divide it. And then down here, this one you should fire through real quick. Okay? Multiply the decimal by 100, but make sure you do the shortcut. Number 23, in a survey, 80 students were asked to name their favorite subject. 30 students said that English was their favorite subject. What percent of the students surveyed said that English was their favorite subject? Always find that question. Okay, so you're just writing down as a percent of how many students' favorite subject was English. Okay? Well, 30, but out of how many? Alright, y'all have a great week.